Welcome to another broadcast of the Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and welcome to the May 19th meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. I believe Commissioner Kalo has some words for us.
Come here, Paul. Our dog of the week is a 3 to 4 month old mixed female. She was found in the Lorain area, as I was told. We're going to give her an extended 2-week stay. I'd like you to come in and adopt our dog. Well, this is mine for the week. The commissioners are batting 1,000. Every dog we've shown so far has been adopted, and we have been naming them every week. So since the airport's been such a big issue this week, I think we'll nickname this one Runway. So we've got a 2-week extended stay, so please stop in and pick up a wonderful dog. Thank you.
The new rule for the commissioners is if we don't get the dogs adopted, we have to keep them. Self-imposed rule. That's only good for this week. If it's my turn next week, the rule doesn't stand. Oh, yeah, and then some. Yesterday was a busy day for Lorain County Commissioners. A lot of interesting things happening in our county. Last evening was the graduation for Leadership Lorain County. And I would like to use a quote from Pat McClaslin, who is with the Lorain County Metro Parks. Pat says, lying makes a problem part of the future. Truth makes a problem part of the past.
Very good.
I thought that was pretty good. Okay. Madam Clerk.
At 10 o'clock, there will be a public hearing on the regular proposed annexation of 25.58 acres from Grafton Township to the Village of Grafton. Attorney James N. Taylor is the agent. Under Resolutions Number 1, Job and Family Services Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
No investments, appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Advances and repayments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Travel expenses.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within the jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Commissioners, I request an executive session at the end of our regular business today. We have several issues of negotiation that Clemens Nelson's here to update the board on what's going on around the county. I'd like to discuss potential new hire at the dog pound and possibly in our IT department. And we also have 2 matters of pending litigation. One of them being a new claim, and the other being, as everybody's well aware, the issue with former employee Karen Plavin.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez.
Approve the Commissioners' meeting minutes and waive the reading of the same for March 31st, April 7th, 12th, 19th, 21st, and May 11th, 2005.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
providing for the issuance and sale of not to exceed $6.2 million of bonds for the purpose of, one, advance refunding $5 $5,590,000 of the county's $7,885,000 general obligation limited tax public improvement bonds, Series 1996, and 2, paying cost of issuance of the bonds. The issuance of bonds is not additional debt incurred, but rather than exchange of bonds, and will save the county about $195,000 in future investment interest payments.
Mr. Cordez?
Thank you, Commissioner. At various times after you issue bonds, you have the ability to recall and refinance your bonds. We found ourselves in a favorable market to do so. It's too bad we couldn't have did so a year ago. I think we could have probably doubled those savings, but we're under certain constraints when you issue the bonds. We just don't have the ability to do it at any time we want to. $195,000, though, is still a significant amount of money. It'll be the $195,000 over the course of the life of the new issuance. But in this day and age, any dollar saved with what's going on with revenue is going to be greatly appreciated. I want to thank our bond underwriters and our seasoned good and our bond counsel with Voyers for making sure they brought this to our attention and staying on top of this, as well as our budget department, John Rocasi and Shelley Romero. They did a great job. So I encourage you to approve.
I would just like to ask if you can tell us off the top of your head what our current bond rating is.
Double large A, small A, right, John?
Yeah, we have a double A, large A with Fitch's, which is relatively speaking very high.
Right.
And also with Moody's, we're a large A, small A3, which is in the double A category, which is still relatively very high.
We kind of groused about back and forth trying to figure out everybody's schedule to go to Manhattan and talk to Moody's and Fitch's this time around. We were kind of pressed by deadlines. We have to have this bond issuance done by June 1st. Or we lose our window of opportunity, so we weren't able to really fit it in with the tight schedules of the commissioners. But I think on our next bond issue, we really need to give serious consideration to going to Manhattan, sitting down again with Moody's and Fitch's. My last lengthy discussions with them was teleconferencing, and we spent several hours at that. We were actually able to achieve an additional upgrade at the conclusion of that, but we really need to go there, sit with them, and lay out a map of where the county's going, what's going on in the county, because they don't just rate us on county government. They're looking at our community. They're looking at the city of Elyria, the city of Lorain, and the things that are going on there. Now, we're not accountable for that, but we do have to explain to them certain questions they have about how vibrant those communities are, because they believe there's a direct nexus to how vibrant the county is going to be in the long term. So I would think that within the next few months we have some issues coming up. We really should plan on doing that. That personal relationship is very, very necessary. We spend a lot of time, John and I make sure every year we call them, we update them, we send them our financial positions. We actually court them to make sure that they have a good feeling about Lorain County.
Thank you. I'll move for approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Approve and enter into construction claim settlement agreement between the Lorain County Board of Commissioners and Cleveland Cement and Construction, Inc. for the construction of Lorain County Justice Center project.
Jerry?
Commissioner, we had a few issues with one of our contractors regarding the timing on the completion of the Justice Center. We've been negotiating with them for a while, very, very good faith negotiations, and I think we've come up with a resolution here that works very well for both the county and the contractor, and I would strongly recommend the commissioners approve this.
Mr. Cordez?
This will conclude our discussions that have been going on for, I want to say, about 2 years on the acceleration costs that we had to pay the summer of 2002. We were able to successfully recoup, I want to say, somewhere in the neighborhood of 75% of those or 80% of those acceleration costs. That's a little unusual because normally you don't get any of that back. We kept focused and pointed on that issue, and I want to thank Karen Davis and Jerry Ennis for the good supporting work they did for this board. We had a lot of meetings, we had a lot of tense meetings, but I think the county prevailed at the end of the day, and rightfully so, and gained what they were supposed to have all along.
Thank you. Both Jerry and Mr. Cordez. Do you have questions, Commissioners?
No.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Authorize the petition of the City of Elyria to vacate a portion of Commerce Court and reimburse the county administrator $100 for the application fee.
And Mr. Cordes, you need to tell us why we want to vacate the alley.
I just want you to approve my $100 free.
You have to dance for the
Oh,
money.
okay. 2 left feet and a club leg.
Oh, you aren't getting your money back then.
We are currently working on Phase 4 of the Justice Center, which includes an extensive amount of renovation to the landscape behind the current courthouse and the parking on 3rd Street. Our plans are to vacate the center of Commerce Court and limit it to access only the county employees or people authorized to park in the lot behind the Justice Center and those lots that we're going to establish on between 2nd Street and Commerce Court. Now, the access to the Justice Center parking that currently comes off of 3rd will also be restricted. We'll be able to control parking. How many times I've said this before, and I'm not sure I said with the current board, we need to get out of the towing business, and we need to control access to certain lots so we don't have to go into the towing business anymore. We've met with Alltel, who is a property owner. They're agreeable to this. We've met with the churches. One of the things we're doing, and I wish I could credit us with this original thinking, but it actually started with the Journal back here on our alley. Chronicle, excuse me. When they were vacating the alley, they put in a spur alley over to 2nd Street, and so we can divert the traffic back and forth. You know, it's one of those great ideas that we hadn't thought about, so we said, well, that could work for us. And so we went to the church, we spoke with them, and we're going to do the same thing behind the church. We're going to put a spur alley in so that you still have continuity traffic through that area for the church. We also made the alley wide enough to accommodate parking along the back of the church, which will make the church our friends for the rest of our life because they don't have any parking over there. Now, that parking won't belong to the church. It'll be in the public right-of-way, but there'll be access to the parking there, and they can petition the city of Elyria as they see fit to, you know, restrict some of that parking back there. So they're pretty pleased with that also. That'll also limit a lot of the traffic up and down the alley for Alltel because they bring their vehicles up there and they have the big Sally Port there for their trucks and that small lot in the corner. Everybody seems pretty agreeable to it. The plan looks good. We'll be able to stretch out the parking lot a little bit more and gain a few extra spots in the lot. The one thing that was very concerning with this is the timing of the lift gates to get people in. We're going to go to some kind of proximity or swipe system that's gated. We need to automate that. It's too expensive to have somebody working a booth and letting people in and so forth. And we're looking at timing issues. I think the original plan I presented to the commissioners had traffic coming down the alley heading west, and we were going to have one-way traffic, which we still plan on doing, and going to a gate there. Well, when I looked at the timing sequence of all the gates and so forth, we probably would have been backing traffic all the way down the street. There was almost a 30-second interval to get somebody through the gate. So we're also going to bring traffic in off of
Court Street.
West Ridge? No,
West
Ridge?
Avenue.
West Avenue. Excuse me, West Avenue. So there'll be two-way traffic on the West Avenue end and one-way traffic on the Court Street end. And we believe that the timing will be such that we can get enough people in and out within an hour or so when we bulk up the parking and when people leave, that we should not have a traffic congestion issue. We also have a third alternative if that doesn't work, but we have to try it first, and we can also use 3rd Street again. The problem we have there is the cut coming off the street is so sharp that you actually have to put your equipment further back and you lose parking by putting it back in. We're doing everything we can to maintain as many spots. And at that time, when those lots are done and that equipment's all installed, I'll be presenting the board a plan to reopen the parking garage to a mixed use for public and employees. This board didn't agree to it or promise to it, but prior boards, we had spoken that this was going to be a temporary situation with employee-only parking in this parking deck, and I believe it's in the best interest of the community and our employees that we have a mixed-use garage out there and we provide a little bit of better access to public parking for your constituents. So those things are coming, and that's a long story about an alley that should have been short. I apologize.
Now, you made application to the city of Elyria?
Yes, Mr. Ennis made application on our behalf.
We will be filing it tomorrow.
In order to accelerate that, I gave Mr. Innes the $100 on behalf of the board so that we didn't have to wait to get a check. If you don't give me back my $100, you have to name the alley after me. So
We could do that.
Let's keep the $100.
But
Cortez Court.
that has a nice ring to it, but I don't think we have the authority to name the alley. That goes to the city of Elyria, so I think you're out all the way.
once it's vacated, we'll own that portion that's been vacated. Because we own property on both sides. When you vacate an alley, the adjacent property owners split the alley. Since we own all the property on both sides, that will become to commissioners. Mindful that before anybody gets in an uproar that may read this, we're also giving up, though, a portion behind the church to put in another alley there. So nobody's losing anything here. It's just a reconfiguration.
Okay. Any further questions, commissioners? I'll move for approval.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mrs. Kowski?
Aye.
Under Children and Families Council, authorize the executive director to enter into an agreement with Chaining Bet Corporation, South Deerfield, Massachusetts, to purchase Help Me Grow educational materials in the amount not to exceed $42,000. This was the only bid received on April 11th and will be paid from account 20501-0901-490823.
Juan, I think you need to tell us what this is for, if you would, please.
Crespo, Director of the Lorain County Children and Families Council. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning,
Good
Juan.
morning.
The one of the issues that we have struggled with Help Me Grow has always been sort of the lack of readily available material to the participants that are enrolled in the program. And so as you are aware, we always do a variance projection in terms of the dollars that are being utilized, particularly under TANF, because those are the greatest amount of revenues that we receive for Help Me Grow. So we reallocated $42,000 from some of the vendors that we did not project that they would be spending, drawing down all of their TANF dollars. And so we we put out a bid specs for some educational material, and as the resolution states, Channing Bet was the only response that we received, and we're looking to purchase. Commissioner, I can read some of the materials that we're going to be purchasing, and let me just preface that by saying that the material will be available in both English and Spanish, because we are seeing an increase in the participants that are Spanish dominant in the program. And there's several categories. If you could just bear with me for a moment, Commissioners. Under infant and child development, which is the first category, there's materials regarding thinking skills and language development from birth to age 3, developing your baby's intelligence, growth charts, changing your baby. As we all know, when we have babies, they don't come with instructions, and a lot of our young parents sometimes need that basic help and assurances that they could refer to on a simple thing like changing a child. Your child's emotional and social development, birth to age 3, and your child's physical development for the same age group. Under the category of children with disabilities, a guide for parents of children with disabilities. As you are aware, the Help Me Grow program, we specifically conduct outreach and enroll children with developmental delays. Again, the 0 to 3 population, that's a different category of the children that are just at risk for developmental delays. Another piece of material is the children with special needs, raising a child with a disability, and speech as language disorders. So these are the kinds of materials. We also have materials specifically geared for parent training, Great Beginnings Start Before Birth, sort of the prenatal care that's involved to assure that there's a healthy pregnancy and a healthy delivery, healthy pregnancy kits, nutrition, always a big issue, caring for your baby, about newborn and infant care, a parent's handbook, welcome to motherhood, and becoming a father. How to be a better father, stress and parenting, a parent's guide to dealing with stress, managing parental stress, disciplining, and we're specifically focusing on discipline, alternatives to discipline without hitting your child or without verbal abuse to the child. And then lastly, the category of child care, infant nutrition, breastfeeding, feeding your baby from birth to age 2, and baby bottle tooth decay. So these are the materials that we'll be ordering from Channing Vet should the commissioners approve this resolution. Let me just add, ma'am, excuse me, that the materials, Mr. Cortez and I spoke about this at length, and one of the good things about buying materials like this is that they're available to all Help Me Grow children, irrespective that the revenue stream is TANF specific. That's number one. Number two, these are materials that obviously will transcend our fiscal year. We're purchasing them with fiscal 05 dollars, but clearly they'll be available throughout the life of the program as long as they last.
And then how do you distribute these materials?
We have approximately 16 service coordinators that are the direct line staff that are enrolled by the service coordinating agency. I was speaking with Commissioner Kalo before the meeting. Those are the people that are charged with actually going into the homes of the participants to assure that there's compliance with the individualized family service plan that's been developed. So primarily they will be responsible for delivering the materials to the parents. Additionally, we have parent support groups that are staffed by Teresa Prihoda, part-time staff of the council, and she would be responsible also for making sure that the materials are available to the parents. So those are the main two avenues to be able to distribute the materials.
Thank you. You want to comment, Mr. Cortez?
Just briefly, Commissioners, right now, we have a crisis going on in Lorain with older children, older teens, and even some younger teens, and even some adolescents, actually. And the community there is focusing on those issues and trying to provide extracurricular activities to engage those children. But I would submit to you that Mr. Crespo and I have had much discussion of the fact that that's all well and fine, but we have bad parents. And a lot of these materials are starting for these newer parents to get them ready to be parents and work with their children, because no matter how much extracurricular activity you have, if you have a bad household, you still have to go home eventually. And if you don't have the proper structure and those parents are not actively learning and being good parents, all the extracurricular activities in the world is not going to help you. While clearly, how to discipline your child is not going to help when you have a child that's 17 or 18 now. We need to build those that foundation for the next generation coming through. And I think we can see how crucial it is, even though this is 0 through 3, but a lot of this material can be used 0 through 8, 0 through 9. It's geared for the younger, but it has a lot of impact on older adolescents also. And something has to be done about parents who are not parents. And this year we're not going to be able to have Parents as Teacher program. That program's not going to be available next year. And we're hoping to be able to put something in place so that we have parent training. Juan said children don't come with instruction manuals. Well, I don't know that many people prepare to be a parent. You got to buy a license to own a dog, but anybody can have a kid. It's an unusual situation, and I can't stress enough that we need to look at programs that will make parents more aware of the responsibilities and more aware of living up to those responsibilities, so that while we still worry about extracurricular activity for the youth, they're getting the guidance they need in the home before they go out there and do that.
Juan, are you also making these materials available to the public libraries?
Commissioner, in speaking with Ms. Golsky at Job and Family Services, one of the limitations that we have is that our main focus is going to be first of all to the parents that are enrolled in the program, because that clearly we have to report out on where the materials go. The other thing would be is that we would be looking at the fairs that are coming around and also throughout Lorain County to distribute materials in those venues. The public library, one of the problems that we have found with just putting materials out is that oftentimes the materials don't really get in the hands of the people that need them most. So the short answer is yes, we could put them in the public library, but there's less control about who actually takes the materials in those types of settings as opposed to community fairs, health fairs, and through the existing staff.
Well, I appreciate that. I think if someone would pick it up at the library and actually take it home and then bring it back, that would be a wonderful thing. Commissioner Kalo?
One, now this isn't based on financial need either. Any parent can participate in Help Me Grow.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Okay. Sometimes there's a stigma about the social services, but it's available. I've got a friend of mine whose 2.5-year-old son's involved in it, and says it's the best program he's ever
good.
seen. So,
Thank you for sharing that. It's always good to hear those kinds of vignettes regarding the participation of parents in the program. Thank you.
Well, the interesting part of that was that he would not be, he would only be a TANF recipient.
correct. Yeah, it's not a financial need. It's basically a social service to train parents and to help the children.
Any other questions, commissioners? I'll move for approval. Thank you, Juan.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
All right.
Is it okay to do 15 and 16, since I believe the gentleman here, and then do our public hearing on the annexation, because it's a little after 10 now, and the public hearing's at 10,
Teresa,
so...
you do it however you wish.
Okay, I'm just asking.
You're steering the boat.
Approve and addendum to the Help Me Grow FY05 contract between the Commissioners Administrative Agent for Lorain County Children and Families Council for the FY05 Help Me Grow program and Catholic Charity Services of Lorain County. This amendment will reflect an increase in the unit rate for the service coordination from $40.20 to $64.17. All other provisions of Resolution 04-364 dated June 15th will remain in effect.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Under the Community Development Department, approve the Enterprise Zone Tax Abatement Agreement between the Village of LaGrange and Varbos LLC Trimline Division for 10 years, 75% abatement on a minimum investment of $4,680,000 and a maximum investment of $8,040,000 for new construction and purchase of machinery, equipment, and inventory, and the creation of 4 full-time permanent jobs.
Rebecca Jones?
Thank you, Commissioners. Rebecca Jones, Lorain County Community Development Department. Varbros LLC Trimline Division, which is located in LaGrange, is asking for a 10-year, 75% tax abatement. They will be constructing a 19,000 square foot addition to their building. They will be purchasing new machinery and equipment. The minimum investment is $4,680,000. They will be creating 4 new full-time equivalent jobs. They currently have 19 people employed at their facility. The 4 new jobs will be adding $112,000 in new payroll. The project will begin the end of this month and will be completed no later than December of 2008. The agreement has been reviewed and approved as to form by Mr. Innes. The schools were properly notified, and the company has entered into school donation agreements with the schools. We do have Mr. Rick Vargo with Trimline Dye present with us today if you have any additional questions about the project.
Mr. Varbros, did you have any comments you'd like to make?
No.
Would you come to the microphone, please? Thank you. Well, we're glad to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just that the industry we're in is one that sells into the automotive industry, which, as you all know, is very competitive, and we need to address all of our cost streams that affect our selling prices to our customers. So this abatement is greatly required for us to continue to grow our business.
Fair enough. Questions from the commissioners?
What type of financing for the project are you going to be seeking?
We have a line of credit with Key Bank that we will access as needed in addition to our cash flow to pay for this increased space.
Okay. The Port Authority, have they discussed financing through the Port Authority at all with you?
We haven't requested that, and I'm not aware of any discussions on that.
Rebecca or Ron? No?
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming this morning. Nothing further, Rebecca?
No, other than the fact that we've participated in the discussions with the Village of LaGrange, and Mayor Strauss apologizes that he is not able to be here this morning. He did have a family emergency that he had to deal with.
Thank you.
Rebecca, why
Yes.
wasn't Port Authority bonds?
The company really had their own financing in place and really did not need our assistance in any financing, and so we did not discuss that with them. Generally, when companies come to us with financial needs, that's when we present all of our programs. But if they come with their financing in place already, by the time we got involved with this, with the tax abatement, they were already set with their financing and didn't have any needs at that point.
Okay, thank you.
I'll move for approval as outlined.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Guess we'll go to the regular hearing on the proposed annexation of 25.58 acres from Grafton Township to the Village of Grafton. Attorney James N. Taylor is the agent. Petition and map were filed in the Board of Commissioners, received by the clerk on March 11th. Letters were issued to Mark Stewart, Lorain County Auditor, and Ken Carney, Lorain County Engineer, asking for review and accuracy of the petition and map, and the public hearing was scheduled on the 79th day. March 14th of '05, received an amended legal description based upon the letter received from Lorain County Engineer on March 7th, which added lot dimensions to the map and other changes. Resolution number 05236, adopted March 17th, received and journalized proposed annexation and scheduled this hearing. March 17th, received the certificate of filing from the county auditor. March 18th, received the certificate of filing from the auditor on the petition. March 24th, received the filing of the auditor on the petition and setting the date. March 31st, the affidavit of mailing notices. April 22nd, received resolution number 05008 from the Village of Grafton setting forth services. April 27th, received the affidavit of public notice in the Chronicle Telegram. And on May 18th, county engineer stated the map and description are correct and is adjacent to and contiguous to the village.
Okay. At this time, I would ask the Assistant County Prosecutor to give the oath of office. The oath. Thank you, Jerry. To anyone who is going to give testimony. Sorry.
Anybody who thinks they're going to testify or make any statements, please rise and be sworn in. Do each of you swear or affirm that the statements you give now I've got the statements you make today shall be the truth as you shall answer it unto God or under penalty of the law of perjury?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ennis. I assume that the gentleman at the podium is James Taylor.
No.
Good morning, Madam
I
Chair.
thought I knew James Taylor.
James Taylor is the agent for the petitioners. He has been held up in court across the street. He should be here momentarily. In lieu of that, I am Eric Brunig. I'm his associate at the law firm, and I will present this for you if there's no problem with that.
Thank you, Eric.
Okay, it's just a very brief overview, Commissioners. First of all, as Ms. Upton and Mr. Ennis have indicated, all the procedural requirements in this case have been met. This is a approximately 25-acre parcel in the township of Grafton that we are moving into the Village of Grafton. Daryl Norris is not the owner. Carrington Point Estates is the owner. Daryl Norris is the president of that corporation. He intends to build a real estate development on the area proposed to be annexed. We have spoken with Grafton Township. Russ McLaughlin is here on their behalf. He is representing them. They have agreed to release the territory to us. We have come to an agreement on those terms, and there is no problem with the township. As far as the general good of the territory is concerned, the only property owner in the area proposed to be annexed is Daryl Norris, Carrington Point Estates. There is 100% agreement in that territory, and the general good will be served because the territory proposed to be annexed, basically, the real estate development plan can only be done within the zoning requirements of the village. The township does not meet the requirements that they need, so that is not a problem as far as this is concerned. As far as the surrounding area, it will basically blend in with the other developments there. It is at the end of a stubbed street. It was obviously meant to continue development sometime in the future. We're just continuing with the general development of that area. Also, there's not going to be any street or highway segmented. As I just said, the Stubbs Street will be extended by Mr. Norris into the development. That's basically where we stand. Everyone's in agreement as far as I'm aware. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Bruning. And then, Mr. McLaughlin, do you have comments to make on behalf of the township?
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I just wanted to appear before you in case there was any question with respect to the intent of the Grafton Township trustees. I was asked to go over this matter as private legal counsel, and I just wanted to state on the record that the Grafton Township trustees have no objection to the proposed annexation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I see that Mr. Ferrito is here. Do you wish to make any comment, or was your comment made through Mr. McLaughlin?
Mr. McLaughlin done a good job there.
Thank you, Tony. Any other township? Sir, if you'd identify yourself, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Carl Anderson. I'm the warden at Grafton Correctional Institution. I believe part of the property that is going to be developed abuts our property, some of our property. I was asked to come here today on behalf of the Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections, not necessarily to raise an objection, but just to inform the developers that part of that land, that the land that they will abut that belongs to the state, we use that back area for our firing range, and there's 5 organizations that use that range. So plus our special response team also practices in that back area. So there will be, you know, a lot of noise back there. Sometimes we use smoke grenades and different types of percussion instruments. So I don't want them to come back to later and say that there's a noise issue, when they need to be forewarned that that's where we do all of our practice.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Bruning, does your client is duly notified of this? Is there any question about it, so that, you know?
My client is aware of the issue, Commissioner, and he will take any steps he deems necessary during the development process, and he thanks the state for their support.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board either in favor of or in opposition to this issue? Welcome, Mr. Taylor. Your timing was excellent.
I am 10:50 and just finished in domestic, and I apologize if I'm late.
Well, I know. Jerry pointed out that I didn't ask for any comment from the village. I just assumed that if I asked for a comment from anybody, the village would think that they were included. Is there anyone from the village that wishes to address this issue? I see no one coming forth. Okay. We've taken testimony from everybody who wished to speak. Would you like to summarize the issue, Mr. Taylor? Eric did a very fine job.
I'll let Eric finish since he started. I jogged over, so he's probably better.
Well, you're in good health for today then.
Again, Commissioners, I only wish to reiterate that we have the township's cooperation in this. We've worked out a deal that's amenable to all parties. We believe the village is in support, as evidenced by the resolution. The area is small, and on balance, the good of the territory to be annexed and the surrounding area will be met by this annexation, so we ask for its approval.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ennis, do you have comments for us?
Commissioners, there is one minor problem. The report from the engineer did not get in the time it was supposed to be here, but in view of the fact that all the parties are in agreement with the annexation, I believe that pursuant to Section 709.015, I think we can find that it's in substantial compliance and a procedural error that the commissioners may waive and go forward with the annexation.
And just one point on Jerry, we did get a request from the engineer to change the legal, so we did do that, so he has reviewed it. We gave it to him before we filed, and I did do some homework too. It said that that procedural flaw wasn't effective as us if the engineer doesn't submit his report.
Right, I should note that everybody, contact and everything was made, but just for some reason or other, it didn't actually get in from the engineer's office. So everybody was well aware of everything, and all the checks and informational procedures had been done, so it's just really a minor technical flaw. And again, since no one has any objection, I would suggest to the commissioners that we waive that problem.
I do have one question. If this is annexed to the village, will it cease to be part of Grafton Township?
In this, yes, and the way we've done this under the standard annexation procedure, it would be part of the village and not part of the township.
Thank you. Questions for any of the commissioners? Since this seems to be a joint issue and there's agreement between the township and the village and the property owner, I'll move for approval based on the findings as outlined by the assistant prosecutor and waiving of the procedural flaw as stated in his comments.
Second.
I should probably read those into the record, Commissioner.
Would you please?
Okay. We have to make specific findings of 7 conditions, so the Commissioner's motion should indicate that her motion in the second is based upon the findings of those 7 factors. 1, that the petition meets all the requirements set forth in revised code section 709.02. 2, the persons who signed the petitions are owners of the real estate located in the territory proposed to be annexed. 3, the number of valid signatures on the petitions constitute a majority of the owners of the real estate in the territory as of the date the petition was filed. 4, the municipality has complied with revised code section 709.03D and provide a statement or ordinance of the services that it will provide. 5, the territory is not unreasonably large. 6, on balance, the general good of the territory proposed to be annexed will be served, and the benefits to the territory proposed to be annexed and the surrounding area will outweigh the detriments to the territory proposed to be annexed and the surrounding area if the annexation petition is granted. 7, no street or highway will be divided or segmented by the boundary line between the township and the municipality as to create a road maintenance problem.
Thank you, Mr. Ennis.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. And again, apologize for my tardiness. Thank you very much.
Under the Emergency Management Agency, rescind resolution number 05280 adopted on March 31st, 2005, awarding bid to W.W. Williams Brunswick in the amount of $75,376 for the purchase of 3 generators, 1 for each health department in Lorain, Elyria, and the county. This is due to inadequate specifications for the project. Instruct the clerk to re-advertise, and notice will be published in the Morning Journal on May 25th and June 1st, and open at 2 p.m. on June 8th in public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Under Job and Family Services, instruct the clerk to advertise RFPs for various programs as listed below for Lorain County Department of Job and Family Services. This notice will be published in the Chronicle Telegram on May 23rd and 30th, and bids to be open on June 6th at 2 p.m. in the Commissioner's Public Hearing Room. 1, career counseling for TANF-eligible adults. 2, personal development, self-exploration, asset discovery, and environment education program for TANF-eligible adults, and homeless assistance case management for TANF-eligible families.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Approve and enter in various agreements between Lorain County Department of Job and Family Services and various vendors for school shoes, school supplies, and school clothing for low-income children in Lorain County using TANF funds. 1, Payless Shoe Source, Inc., Topeka, Kansas, in the amount not to exceed $488,250 for the purchase of school, dress, and athletic shoes. 2, Discount Drug Mart, Inc., Medina, in the amount not to exceed $488,250 for the purchase of school supplies. JCPenney Incentive Sales, Rosemont, Illinois, in the amount not to exceed $732,375 for the purchase of school clothes and clothing-related accessories. And Target in Elyria in the amount not to exceed $732,375 for the purchase of school clothes and clothing-related accessories.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Instruct the clerk to advertise for RFPs and said notice to be published in the Morning Journal on May 23rd and 30th for 1, Homemaker Home Health Aid Services, Adult Protection Services, bids to be open at 2:30 p.m. on June 6th in the Commissioners' Public Hearing Room, and 2, Job Training, Placement, and Retention Programs, bids to be open at 3 p.m. on June 6th in the Commissioners' Public Hearing Room.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under the Transit, approve and enter into agreement with Vermillion Community Services to provide transportation services in the amount not to exceed $18,950 for Vermillion Township, and Brown Hill Township from 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Under the engineer, receive and journalize the county engineer's annual report on the condition of ditches under County Maintenance Fund for the year 2004, and authorize Lorain County Auditor to continue maintenance fees rates as recommended by the county engineer to clean and maintain various county ditches for the year 2004, tax lien year 2005, authorize a revision of assessment for Edward T. Maley, Eaton Commerce Parkway. The detention original assessment was $151.90, which will be revised to $75.95 due to the owner mowing and maintaining this property.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Receive and accept the petition to vacate a 15-foot alley from Grace Avenue to Olivet Avenue, and between Rosewood and Elmwood Street in Elyria Township. This notice will be published in the Chronicle Telegram on May 24th and 31st. The viewing will take place on Wednesday, June 8th at 10 a.m., and June 23rd at 10:15 will be the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Approve and enter into subdividers agreement between the Board of Commissioners and Darrell Norris, developer for Carrington Point Estates Subdivision Number 1, Carlisle Township. Engineers estimate of cost of construction is $710,000 with inspection fees of $14,200. The certificate of insurance is filed with Ryan St. Marie in Elyria.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Instruct the clerk to advertise for bids for the resurfacing of Oberlin Elyria Road, Amherst Township. Notice will be published in the Chronicle Telegram on May 25th, June 1st, and 8th, and bids to be open at 2 p.m. on June 15th in the Commissioners' Public Hearing Room.
Also move noting that the estimated cost of this project is $939,331 to be paid 80% federal, 20% Ohio Public Works Commission.
Second.
Any further discussion? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Enter into a professional engineering services agreement with K.E. McCartney and Associates, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $20,000 for the feasibility study on the Baumhart Road for the North Shore Corridor. County engineer will issue a notice to proceed for said study.
I think Commissioner Kalo should have some remarks on this.
Without a doubt, I'd like to thank our engineer for being proactive on this. I need to reintroduce the North-South Corridor at Government Day at Community College, and I've had discussion with Commissioner Byers out of Ashland out of getting us a North-South Corridor from 71 to I-90 in Lorain, so we can move freight and commerce and help build up Lorain County, and I appreciate Mr. Carney's efforts.
And this is the first step, right?
This is the first step.
You're so moving?
I am so moving.
All
I will
right.
second.
Ms. Kayla?
Aye.
Excuse me. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
He didn't catch that.
I know I did. I was being nice, just...
Just for the record, you read North Shore
Corridor.
North-south.
North-south.
Or North Shore, okay. North.
She lives over there in Sheffield Lake.
that.
She knows that the shopping center is.
Had city disease today, can't get it
We all
out.
have it.
Teresa doesn't feel well. I appreciate you being here.
Under the sanitary engineer, authorize the increase of sanitary sewer rates. 1, Brentwood, Columbia, Crest Haven, Eaton, Plum Creek, and Westview wastewater treatment plant customers to $31, and 2, Sheffield and Elyria Township customers to $3 per 100 cubic feet.
I have a question, and when is this anticipated to be effective?
That seems to be a very important question.
Well, it certainly would be.
I was so busy getting all the rates and data, I hadn't really thought about it. I would think that probably July 1st would give us enough time to make the proper notifications. Just to read and to speak into the record, we need these increases. Otherwise, we're going to have to supplement the sanitary engineer this year, that department. We had some surpluses that have been exhausted, and we're no longer able to generate enough revenue to meet our expenses. It's unfortunate, nobody likes rate increases, but that department has to be self-sustaining. So these rate increases are absolutely and positively necessary, and this is a no-frills increase. This is just to keep our head above the water.
And this is, what, about a $5 or $6 a month increase
Comes out
for
to
residents?
Yeah, it comes out to a little bit less than $5. Actually, well, we proposed 30 at the beginning of the year. We waited till the middle of the year, so we went to 31. So, yes, it'll come to a little bit over $5. Excuse me, for some of those residents, not all of them, but some of them, yes. It's going to be, you know, a bit of an increase for them. But these package plans have to pay for themselves. We're working, and we've been working for 2 or 3 years now on divesting ourselves of a couple of these package plans. We have a lot of programs in the works which I'm comfortable reporting to you that should be coming to this board over the course of this summer. At least 2 or 3 of them we're going to tap into other sanitary sewer systems on that are mainline systems rather than package plant systems. And, we've been doing quite a bit of work. Plus, we just got a whole list of different things from the EPA that they want done at these package plants. It was very extensive. So we're probably going to move with a little bit more haste to get these package plants offline and get those areas that we can hooked into an official certified waste treatment facility, such as Lorain or Amherst, LaGrange, as the case may be, or Grafton. So you're going to see a lot more activity in the coming months with regard to those package plants and some sewer projects.
I think that from the information, the rates were $26.48 in 2004, so $31 is an increase of $4.52 a month. So
okay, so
that's not over $5.
Well, okay.
Just to, you know, it's an increase and it's not welcome, but sometimes we have to do those things. Other questions from the board? Also move.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Under the Forensic Lab, approved an addendum to contract with Abbott Diagnostic, Akron, Ohio, for the Forensic Lab. This amendment is to reflect an effective date of 1 year with an option to renew.
Nope.
I think this needs some explanation.
Oh, thank you, Jerry.
About a year ago, we began having some differences of opinion with our Abbott Diagnostic, and the forensic lab people called me about it. I was unfamiliar with the contract, so I asked them to send that over to me. And when I had not remembered reviewing it, and when it came over, I realized I had not reviewed it, and neither had the commissioners. We had a contract that was not signed or approved by the commissioners. We began an extensive discussion with them in which I informed them that they did not have a valid contract since it was not approved by the Board of Commissioners. In any event, after what's now been about a year of discussion, and with some considerable help with Mr. Willits and Emmanuel de Leon from the Forensic Lab, we were able to persuade them to accede to several of our demands. They are going to be making several modifications regarding their performance issues. They're actually lowering the price. There are a number of very onerous penalties in this contract that we would have never approved, and we are removing those. So what we are actually doing, rather than, we're actually now agreed to go with the contract for a year here, see if their performance meets the standards that we have with the lower price. If at the end of the year we are not happy, we will have the option to cancel it without any penalty whatsoever and get out. So actually, what we're doing is retroactively approving the contract, putting in a 1-year option to get out at the end of this year. So that wording, effective 1 year with an option to renew, is not really correct. We are ratifying what was a 5-year contract with a 1-year cancellation clause. reduced price, and again, if they don't, their performance does not meet to our satisfaction, we will have the option to get out without penalty.
What kind of notice do we have to give them, though?
60 days.
So you've reviewed it, and now you're satisfied with it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions from the commissioners?
No.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under the Sheriff, authorize County Sheriff to dispose of old Verizon cell phones. These materials are outdated, obsolete, and unfit for any public use, and the value is less than $2,500. Verizon will in turn recycle the cell phones and assist domestic violence victims.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Mr. Cortez, County Administrator?
Thank you. A couple brief issues this morning, Commissioners. First, I need to request approval of purchase order for some laptops for our courtroom technology. We have the more technology we put in the courthouse, the more technology we seem to need. Now at the defendant's table, the attorneys are requesting active internet access at that table, plus we have a thing called real-time, which actually takes the court record that the stenographer is working on and puts it right onto a screen. So the judge and bailiff and so forth can see that, and we've had several requests that real-time also be available at the table for the defending attorneys, and it's not an improper request. The technology is there. We were struggling with, and I'll look for the PO in a second after I explain. We were struggling with how to do that because of software licensing agreements and so forth, and plugging into our network, and we weren't worried about what they were doing on the network. We worried about what they may have brought in with their laptops and so forth, potential viruses and contamination of the system. And then the real-time requires licensing of the software, and what we're going to charge them, was it a loaner software? So I spent some time with the court people, and we arrived at what seems to be a very simple solution: to purchase 4 laptops and make them available at the table there. They would be plugged in, and they would have the real-time software, and they would have internet access. I guess in this day and age, if there's an issue in the court, a lot of these attorneys are sending back for information right to their law offices to get it very, very quickly. And so we can provide that. We can provide the real time. Plus, my understanding is that we're buying these with a CD burner in them, so if the real time allows, they can actually burn a copy of the record and take it with them. The reason I'm bringing it from the floor after that lengthy explanation is because we have a couple trials upcoming, and they're making this request, and we want to get on top of it right away, and I didn't want to wait another week to come in next week's. The cost is not huge. Just bear with me a second. I know I brought it with me. I thought I brought it with me.
This is map, Eastern Reserve. Look at here's Lorain, okay, and Cuyahoga County. One, way back then.
What year is that?
This is the original Western Reserve. Historical Society passed it last night.
Sorry for the delay, Commissioners. I actually requested a supporting letter from the court, the administrative judge, presiding judge, supporting what we were doing with this, and I received that letter late yesterday afternoon from Judge Zaleski, and attached to his letter is the purchase order, and it's for $4,469. I think it's a very effective way of dealing with this. Our courtroom technology over there is something to behold, and we should continue to invest in it. This seems to be the best way to deal with this issue.
That's for 4 of them, right?
Yes, Commissioner.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye. I'd like to report that we had a very successful prevailing wage seminar last week that the county conducted at the Board of Elections. It was well attended, and the feedback of the professionalism of the presentation on behalf of the county was very high in praise. So we'll look forward to doing some more things like that. Quite frankly, that was our first step into that pool of water of offering training and demonstrating the proficiencies and talents that we can bring, along with some people from Columbus that came up and assisted us with that. So Ms. Davis is to be commended for putting that together at the bequest, I believe, of Commissioner Kayla. Were you the one that?
Yeah, I worked on that earlier in the year.
And she put it all together and got it all done. And we have very limited resources to get that kind of stuff done, but we were able to have a very successful event. I want to take you back to issue number 23 on your agenda. For our two newer commissioners, you'll need to attend that viewing.
We've done one of these already, Jim.
Oh, you have?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
They've been here so long, you've already done one.
Part of the woodwork, right?
Hey.
Okay,
It was
fine.
the beginning
Name
of
another
January,
alley,
the snowstorm,
Cordes Alley,
I said.
right?
Remember?
I can't think past last week. I apologize. I wasn't sure that we had done that, so as long as you're aware.
That one, the property owner went out and swept the snow off so we could look at it. It's a little bit nicer weather.
Hopefully.
Some very positive news. I was down in the city of Lorain on Monday night. Spoke with council in open session, and I'm going to be requesting a resolution upon my conclusion of this piece of dialogue from the board. The city of Lorain did pass an ordinance allowing the city to join the county's life insurance pool. I'm saying that's a very, very good thing because the city was paying about $10,000 more for their life insurance than we currently pay now, and their renewal rates that they received was about $50,000 more than they were paying. So over the course of a 3-year contract, and you could extrapolate this forward much more than 3 years, we're going to be able to save the city $180,000. That's the difference between what they would have had to pay and what they're paying now, and what we were able to bring them in under our underwriting for. So this is part of the strength of the county going out into these communities and trying to combine our resources and our economic might. And I know all commissioners have talked positively about this, and Commissioner Blair has been championing this for many years. So I would request that you pass a resolution allowing the city of Lorain to join into the county's life insurance program.
Also move.
I'll second.
Ms. Blair?
Have we approached other cities and townships to see if they'd like to come on board with this also?
Yes, we've brought in several new jurisdictions over the last couple of years. This is the largest one, though, to be quite candid with you. I think the next largest was about 80 people. We're folding in around 530 active employees and almost another 200 retirees. This presented us with some nuances that we hadn't dealt with before, because the retirees cannot be group rated under our group. Specifically, our big pool is for active employees. Plus, the city offered $25,000 life insurance, while all our other entities were always offering $50,000 life insurance, so I had to take that into consideration. So we were able to get the active ones fairly easily, even though there was a difference in the coverage, but we had to independently get the information on the retirees, and that group was independently rated under our policy because they have varying from 7,000 to 14,000, and the ages are so varying, and so that's a standalone piece that I did not think was in the best interest of anybody combining with our overall group. While we want to combine for economic clout, we also have some fiduciary, requirements and some due diligence to the rest of the group members to make sure that we're not doing something that jeopardizes everybody else in the group, and we just simply couldn't fold the retirees in. But because of our relationship and the group size putting pressure on them on this little group, we were able to hold that rate flat for those retirees. So they did receive benefit of still of the power of the group. So as far as other townships and villages go, we've been actively talking to them. I'm probably going to have some discussions with the city of Elyria soon to see how they're doing. We don't force ourselves on anybody. Usually, eventually, they gravitate to us. I received a call yesterday on my voicemail that I'll be following up, and we talked briefly in Columbus about it to Ken from the library. Mm-hmm. He's had his folks call about looking at joining our self-insured healthcare pool. I'm going to make some aggressive presentations, I think, to some of the library groups out here as they struggle with their financial difficulties to see if we can incorporate them into our group health care here. We're doing about okay with our health care. I wish I could tell you, geez, the greatest thing on the block. We're doing good. We're ahead of the power curve, but their small size doesn't allow them to bulk up and purchase. They're paying more. The problem really comes in, we are very firm in our commitment to a single plan, a single benefit level, no deviation, and sometimes these groups have different benefits, and they have a little bit of turmoil with whether they're union or non-union employees and so forth. And but I think as more crushing the economic issues become, I think you're going to see more of a willingness to stand up and debate those issues to get into a plan like the counties, and we'll be doing more with that too. And lastly,
no, wait, please. We have a motion on the floor. Okay. Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski.
Aye.
And lastly, I had some very, very fruitful dialogue with the Recorder's Office yesterday, and it looks like we're going to, when we recommend the floor plan for the new record center, I shouldn't say new, how about revised record center to the board very soon, the Recorder wants to partner with us on controlled environment film storage areas and possibly combining together to cost share, buying some equipment that's mutually beneficial to both her office and the record center. It's really great when we sit down and we talk about our combined needs and we try to reach some middle ground. Everybody goes away with 90%. Sometimes you don't go away with the 100%, but we had very good dialogue, and we're going to continue that dialogue of how to get more yardage out of how we're spending our dollars. I just wanted to let you know those talks were ongoing.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Ernest, Assistant County Prosecutor.
As you may have read in the newspapers, we received a letter from the ACLU. In that letter, they indicate they want us to respond to a matter regarding the airport, and they indicate that if we don't, they are going to recommend it as a matter of litigation. I would therefore conclude that even they agree that this is a litigation matter that is appropriate for executive session. So I would request that the commissioners have an executive session to discuss the issue of litigation with the ACLU.
Now, are you sure about that, Jerry?
Well, I'm not sure.
Oh, thank you. Commissioner Kokoski?
Just one thing. I had met with some representatives from Oberlin a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about the Golden Acres facility, and I'd like our county administrator to get a hold of the director of the health department and maybe start some discussions about doing something with that building.
You mean Green Acres?
Green Acres. Okay. Did I say Golden Acres?
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Green Acres.
I have recently had those discussions, and I moved the issue to their court and talked quite a bit with them, and they have not actively come back with anything. My general feeling is that they don't want to invest in the amount of money it's going to take to renovate the building to occupy it. Plus, I think everybody's waiting. One of the issues we didn't testify on down at the Senate Finance Committee was a small part of the overall package. There were several issues that were very interesting to counties. One being that we're required by Ohio Revised Code to host or house health departments, the county health department in specific, and we don't charge them for that. Now, the health department's been good tenants, and they've done renovations over at the building, so I don't want to give a disflavor to our relationship. I think it's a good relationship. However, they have different funding than the general fund, and the general fund is required to house them. And if this legislation goes through, it'll be similar to what Ms. Blair will be familiar to with the educational service officers that we did a few years ago, where we used to have to house them, and we were very progressive in diversing ourselves at their benefit, because we gave them a building and so forth, but we didn't have to pay the ongoing utilities and rent. I think the health departments are looking at that very serious right now to see what their next moves will be. If in fact that bill comes about, it looks like a 5-year phase out of our requirement to assist them. So it's just a gradual easement off of a subsidy from the general fund. They haven't said it, but I think they're really, really watching that, and then they're going to decide what their options are. And also, they currently don't have the amount of money available to them that it would take to renovate a building to move into. And if we assisted them with that, then we're going to have a building over on Murray Ridge that they just put some money into renovations there, which is also looking at Johnson Controls doing renovation to the infrastructure there that's going to be sitting idle. So there's a lot of different things that are coming to play. Ken Pierce indicated to me that when they did a serious walkthrough on the building a couple of years ago, they thought it was going to take about $900,000 to $1 million to bring the building to where they needed it. And his statement to me was, I can't believe it's any cheaper today. And I don't believe they have those funds available to them. And I think that in the future we should have some dialogue, either together or independently, about whether the general fund actually has the ability, given our current status, to muscle up and provide those kind of renovations. I know it's not a very positive discussion I'm giving you, Commissioner, but that's the status. And that only occurred with the health department, I want to say, 6 or 8 weeks ago. So it wasn't years ago that I had these dialogues. If you'd like, though, I will once again go back to them and discuss the issue. But I think that you're going to see that they're going to need a tremendous amount of assistance.
Can they get bonds? Can the health department?
No.
No, even with their revenue? No.
But everybody's watching what's going on down the state right now. Similarly, the law library that's down on the first floor is another issue for us. There's a similar bill in the legislation that will allow us to begin to charge rent to the law library.
Right.
I have half a notion that once we're able to charge some of these people rent, that they'll find other accommodations. So I'm going to be cautious about what I recommend we do with them until we find out what their long-term plans are. There's no need to spend a lot of money putting them someplace, and then we have no authority to keep them there, and they move off.
Okay.
Well, if
Thank
they have
you.
to pay rent one place, they'd have to pay at another.
I agree.
That's all. Thank you.
Sorry.
Commissioner Kalo?
Busy week. Spent a day and a half in Columbus. We scheduled our meeting on Wednesday. I'm sorry I missed the prevailing wage conference, but the prosecutor's office did a very nice job with that with Karen Davis, and I hope we attend the next one. I'm sure we'll have these as ongoing. Columbus was productive to a degree. We spent a lot of time talking to other county commissioners, state legislators. It was very busy in Columbus. They were also having the educational meetings at the same time. We were down there for local government fund meetings. I'll let Betty expand on that because they did let Betty testify as the rest of us just stood there.
Well, I was so glad you were standing there.
And we had a nice force. We stood up, and as Jim was talking about, we were talking with Ken Kramer, who's in charge of Lorain libraries, and I'm hoping that this cooperative agreement with the city of Lorain and hopefully with the libraries jumping on board with our life insurance will show that we are trying to consolidate our spending and maybe help reinstate some of the local government funds that they're cutting. That's what they're asking us to do, to give us some of our money back, and that was a topic of conversation down there. So hopefully in another month we'll know exactly where it falls at. And also the refinancing of our debt service. I mean, $195,000 in the whole scheme of government may not be the greatest amount of money, but if you take it over time, it actually is 20% of our local government fund cuts are proposing this year of almost $1 million to the county. So I commend our bond counsel and underwriters on bringing that to the table to us.
Thank you, Commissioner. As Commissioner Kalo said, not everybody was allowed to speak, but I think the fact that the Senate Finance Committee meeting started at 1:30 and that we finally got to speak at 6 o'clock tells you a little of the interest that existed down in Columbus on the day of that hearing. With standing room only as the hearing began, and we listened to testimony from the Township Association, from libraries generally, from other elected officials, from townships, cities, and counties, and it was a very interesting process. And I thought we had a good contingency. We had 2 of our 3 county commissioners there. We had our county administrator there, Frank DiTilio, President and CEO of the Lorain County Chamber of Commerce, joined us, as did Ken Cromer from the Director of Lorain Public Library System. So I thought it was a good presentation that we gave to them. And the night before, on Wednesday evening, Ben Nutter, who is a Seneca County Commissioner, invited Senator Jeff Armbruster and CCAO Senior Policy Analyst John Lights to meet with us to discuss this issue. And he was joined by Dave Sauber, who is his fellow Seneca County Commissioner and a county commissioner for Huron County. So we had each of the counties that Senator Armbruster represents was at the dinner, just to let him know how important the local government fund is to us. And Cindy, you did a nice job of contacting all those people. You were the topic of conversation at the dinner because apparently one of the, I don't know what the correct title of the person who inquired, but there was an issue about who was paying for this dinner. Were they really official lobbyists, and the CCO paid for the dinner, so it was a legitimate affair. But, you know, they talk down in Columbus, let me tell you, and left wants to know what the right's doing. But it was an opportunity for us, so I appreciate that very much. And it was a good experience. Secondly, I'd like to say that last night, as I mentioned earlier, there was lots of things going on. You could see Lorain be lit up. You could attend a 21st birthday dinner for Ted's wife.
Yes,
She's
21st, yes. 21st, thank you, Betty.
Now she's as old as I am. I went to the Lorain County Historical Dinner, and I went for a variety of reasons, but I really enjoyed this. Betty Lou Higgins gave a presentation on Phoebe Farr, who was one of the earlier settlers of Carlisle Township, and it was very interesting. And the older you get, the older I get, the more I get interested in history. This was they gave each of us a map of the Western Reserve originally, so kind of nice to look at. They have some great materials, the Historical Society, one book especially. I'm going to have to talk to Joyce because she needs to buy me a gift for Christmas. And it's a little pricey, but it has lots of pictures so I can easily read it. And finally, Elizabeth, if you're here afterwards, I have the tape from the WOL program that the commissioners did. I finally got it for you, so that's my report.
Senior Fest. I thought you'd come in on Senior Fest, so I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Well,
She's only 21, how's she going to come?
well, we were asked to give a presentation regardless of age. And would you be quiet? You had your chance. Yes, the commissioners were at the Midway, it's not the Midway Mall anymore. What is it?
Westfield.
Westfield Shopping, whatever. On what day? What day were we there?
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
She's having a senior moment.
I have them often. We were there and gave a proclamation, and they had some interesting things going on there. I did something after that, too, and I don't remember what. Anyway, it was a good day.
You went shopping per the picture I got.
Oh, yeah, but
They
Lori
took a
was
very
the
nice
one,
picture.
Lori was the one who really went shopping.
Yeah,
I saw her. I saw
I
her
had a
in
couple
pennies.
You know, I think we had it was standing room only, you said. We may have been better standing because I remember you elbowing me and telling me I got the only bench down there that didn't have a cushion on it that we sat on for 5 hours.
Yeah, we were.
And I was ordered to make sure I either brought a cushion or that I commandeered a bench with a cushion on it next time we go down there.
Some of us have more padding than others.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah, we did
Teresa.
attend lighting of the bridge at Lorain, and I want to say, and I'm not going to mention any names, but it wasn't just the bridge that got lit up last night.
Well, I wasn't there.
No, Betty wasn't there.
And no county officials.
No county officials,
Were lit
no.
up last night.
Oh, my goodness.
It was fun, though.
for correspondence.
I move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Public comment.
Okay, now I'm going to talk about the Senior Fest. Judy Zebchek is here. I met Judy at the Senior Fest, and she and I had a little chat, and she has a message she wants to give to us. And so I told her I look forward to seeing her today.
Hello, my name is Judy Sevchek. I live in Amherst. I am a volunteer guardian for the Volunteer Guardianship Program of Lorain. I recently had a resident at Golden Acres Nursing Home. For the last 2.5 years, Golden Acres have taken wonderful care of my resident. She recently passed away, and the support that the staff gave me the day that the lady passed away was above and beyond. We had the funeral on Wednesday, and a lady was there and said to me, "How could you take her to that nursing home, that county home?" Well, now let me tell you, she ruffled my feathers. And I said, that is probably the best nursing home in Lorain County. And I've got all kinds of stuff for you. But I want to tell you this. It is a wonderful place to have a parent or a grandparent. The food is excellent, the activities are wonderful, and the landscaping is great. They take them outside, they sit with them, and I would even be willing to help market the facility for nothing. I was an activity director for 10 years, and I can take you to every other nursing home in Lorain County, and then I can bring you back to Golden Acres, and I can show you why we are so lucky that we have Golden Acres as our nursing home. Thank you.
And I thank you for coming, Judy, and I think Jim wants to recruit you.
I do.
Oh, I called your office before.
Hopefully you got me.
No, I didn't.
Well, you will.
Someplace else. So if you need me, like I said, I'd be willing to help you.
The we're currently cutting a promotional video right now, right, Hal?
I was there the day that you did the tea because my lady was still alive. We had to go and help the activity department. I really truly think that Golden Acres has been shortchanged with the stigma that they have because it's considered the county home. Well, like I said, the county home is the cleanest, best nursing home in Lorain. Even though you don't have a skilled unit yet, you're getting one.
Yes.
You're going to get one.
We're close. They came in. There's a few issues that we still have to deal with. You have a very concerned and well-qualified staff. We keep our staffing levels higher than most of the nursing homes
Oh,
do.
I know.
And the administration, right down to the people folding the clothes.
Right.
It's a home for them. There's a family environment there, and we have long-term employees there that some of them 20, 25 years working side by side with, they've family to these residents.
It is such a bright, cheery place when you walk in the door. There are no odors, and the place, it is. I can't say enough about it. Like I've nailed all three of the county commissioners at the Senior Fest. But I just want you to know how important it is that we keep that place. It is a beautiful place.
We're working hard to make sure that happens right now, restructuring some finances and things like that.
And we certainly appreciate you coming, Judy, and letting everybody else know what you think. I really appreciate that.
I thank you for hearing me, but I will help any way I can.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? David, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. David Ashenhurst, Oberlin. I just wanted to, we're a week ahead for a commercial for the Community Alliance meeting on June 3rd, but the administrator's comments about the participation of the City of Lorain's employees in one of the county's insurance plans or the combined economic power of the local jurisdictions in the county. We were told that the subject of the next Community Alliance meeting, or at least the principal subject, is going to be joint purchasing arrangements and participation of local jurisdictions in county purchasing things. That sounds like a worthy topic to me, and I hope that it does get broadened to include participation in other non-personal financial arrangements like insurance policies and maybe shared services. We had something come up in the city of Oberlin recently about inspections of underground construction projects and having to go and get a specific contract every time this happens, partly because, and there was a question about why we couldn't do it internally to Oberlin. Well, part of the problem there is, of course, we don't have year-round need for that kind of services, but there's got to be an easier way for public works in a municipality in the county to get some of these things than to have to job out a particular contract each time. So I look forward to that meeting, and I hope it's the beginning of an ongoing process of explanation and discourse about how these efficiencies can be realized in some of these sticks and bricks kinds of matters, as well as in financial services and things like that. Thank you.
Well, David, I attended the executive committee meeting with the Alliance this week, and that was discussed. We're looking at things like maybe elevator maintenance type of proposals throughout the county, things like that, maybe paper. And there is a gentleman, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, that is looking into that for us and giving us some kind of ideas how we can save money throughout the county.
Let me segue on your elevator issue.
He wants to ride on your elevator,
Hey,
Lorain.
get off my elevator.
We have looked at all the elevators that we've put into the townships with CDBG funds for under the ADA requirements, Section 504 law. And we're looking at our elevator contracts, and we're trying to combine all that together to save some money. There's not a lot of elevator companies out there, and they're not very cooperative people. So we are working on that, and we may be contacting the city of Lorain and the city of Elyria, who have elevator contracts too. But we're meeting quite a bit of resistance. A couple months ago, actually late last year I believe it was, I was supposed to send out some information. I worked with the PSI on, we had on some bid things that we did to let people opt into our bid specs. For various reasons we didn't get that done, but my current intentions on behalf of the county is to begin to let the jurisdictions know what we're bidding on and asking them if they want to join our bid. If nothing else, we won't duplicate the advertising expense and the expense of preparing bid specs and so forth. We've been pretty well consumed with the Oracle project right now, and I haven't wanted to drain resources from getting that Oracle project done. But once the Oracle project's done, I think that we can turn our attentions more fully towards these cooperative efforts. And I'm not sure who's going to be leading the topic at the Community Alliance, because I know Shara Davis is temporarily assigned to another big project, and I don't know if any county people are actually going to.
It's Mary Singleton from the State Department.
Tom Shanahan or something.
Yes, he's taking her, James, I think. He's taking her place, but it's Mary Singleton with the state.
One of the things we found out, that there was a private firm that was looking to work cooperatively through the PSI and the Community Alliance to do that. We found out that a lot of the communities already were using state term and using things like the National Associations of Counties and so forth. So it's not as bad as it appears out there. We could do a little better locally, and that's what we're working on. So whether it's through the Community Alliance, through PSI, through the county, as long as we get it done, as long as we get to Cleveland, what does it matter what route we take? So
as long as we do it.
As long as we do it, yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You want to come to the meeting too?
I'll have to check my schedule, Commissioner.
The appropriate answer should have been yes. Elizabeth?
Elizabeth Rummix, Oberlin. Several things. One, I'm glad to have had some information publicly available now on the Green Acres matter. There are a number of people in Oberlin who have been very concerned about what will happen to that affair. There is, I understand, however, some litigation involved. Has that been settled?
All the litigation has been settled. Let me give you I'll try to be brief and updated, because you have a lot more background than a lot of people here do from the discussions we had here. If you remember, about a year ago, we were contacting the Attorney General's office to see how far we could stretch certain definitions about what we could do at Green Acres. And they came back with some things such as we may be able to put a public service thing in there for a crime lab or a morgue or things of that nature that served a broader based community but still had underpinnings of serving the youth within Lorain County. What they really wanted, more than giving us generalizations, they wanted some specifics for us, and we haven't really clearly developed those specifics. So we would have to go back to them each and every time if we did not make the percentage of children being served as high as the requirements under the deed restriction. But I believe that they're meldable and cooperative towards stretching out the envelope of permissible uses, and we've had those discussions. But there's no ongoing litigation. The second issue that the board directed me to look into, which I did, was to see if we could lift the deed restrictions, period. And I know, Mr. Dennis, your staff made some inquiries, and we contacted the known heirs, and it appeared that that was not going to be doable for various reasons. We just weren't gaining the cooperation necessary. We may have to revisit that issue to get a good final outcome to Green Acres. We're probably going to have to initiate litigation ourselves to lift that deed restriction. That's been the struggle with Green Acres. There's been various needs that we could have placed out there that we've placed other places. But those deed restrictions have inhibited us greatly, and we're going to continue to work on it. It's not a forgotten issue. And just for the record, for those that don't live in Oberlin and go out that way, we do keep up the grounds and mow the grass and do those things while the building is closed up and we have some of the windows boarded up to make sure they don't get broken. We haven't abandoned the property, and we do loan the ball fields out and things like that. So it's while there's a concern, it's not this huge malignant eyesore with shingles dropping off the roof out there. I think we're still good corporate tenants. The building isn't being occupied, but we do maintain the presence of the building.
No, it's very obvious that it's being maintained, and I do see people playing there and so forth and so on. The concern of the Oberlin residents that I have been most recently talking to is simply that the building be utilized in some fashion. So thank you very much for that update. My second element is I see that the commissioners are very much up to date on approving minutes of the various meetings, but the May 3rd meeting is not there. And that, of course, is one that is of considerable interest to us all right now. Is there something particular about that week?
Yeah, Teresa said she wasn't here.
She was absent that week. Do you do the, when maybe it's good for us to learn this. Who does it? Well, I know that Janice does. She actually does the...
She has to, yes. Because I'm not here, so she would do the whole...
Do you know where she's at with that?
She's still finishing up some of the resolutions that were...
Let's see if we can't make that a priority and have it available for next
I
week.
assume it's in process then.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much. Then my last thing is I just simply, perhaps to nobody's great pleasure up there, like to reiterate some of my questions from the previous commissioners' meeting concerning the takeover of the airport. I still think it would be very interesting for the general public to know some of your thinking on this. The Journal reported that when you came back from the executive meeting, there were some arguments, not arguments, but statements made as to why this was the case. But of course, we don't have the minutes. There was one person here, as is usual. Almost nobody can stay for an executive session coming back, simply because they have other commitments or because we don't know how long it's going to be. So whatever those arguments or statements were, I think is of considerable interest to people. Again, I protest, I think that's the proper verb, the way this was done. It seems to me an enormous insult to the hardworking people on the board out there, and to have had absolutely, or presumably absolutely, no indication that this was in the works or coming down the pike is, I think, simply indefensible. I had asked, was there anyone at the regional authority, Lorain County Regional Airport Authority, aware of this going on? And by that I meant either staff or board members, not simply otherwise. And these questions, I think, need to be answered in some fashion or another. The really big question is, why was it done so quickly and so secretly? It simply reinforces all too prevalent suspicions as to how commissioners are working, what's going on behind the scenes. You build trust by being trustworthy. You corrode trust by having these things, however well-intentioned it may have been on your parts. How it appears to the public is that it was just not a fair way to deal with these things. And I would add one more question. Was anyone at Lorain or were any Lorain or Elyria officials aware that this discussion was taking place, or did this come as a complete surprise to them also? And if not, might some preliminary discussions with them have obviated, or is this irrelevant, what might be potential litigation somewhere down the line? I'm obviously not expecting an answer right now, but it does seem to me these are the sorts of things that the public are very interested in.
Thank you for your comments, Elizabeth, which I find always given in a constructive manner. I appreciate your comments and your attendance. Anyone else? If not, I move that we go into executive session for the purposes outlined by the administrator and the prosecutor.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kukowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
In 1787, the Continental Congress organized the lands from the Ohio River to the Mississippi into the Northwest Territories. In 1803, the first of these territories to become a state was Ohio. Ohio was in turn divided into various land grants, including the Connecticut Western Reserve in the northeast corner of the state. The Western Reserve included the area that is today Lorain County. As Ohio gradually increased its counties to the present 88, the land we know as Lorain County went through several changes. Until 1810, the area was split between Geauga and Portage counties. When the area was being organized into Lorain County in 1822, it was created out of land from Huron, Cuyahoga, and Medina counties. At the time of its birth, Lorain County included Olmsted Township, now in Cuyahoga County, Spencer and Homer Townships, now in Medina County, and Troy and Sullivan Townships, now in Ashland County. This map illustrates the county as it appeared at the time of Ohio's centennial, and although some of the townships have been absorbed by incorporation, it also represents the shape of Lorain County today. Let's take a brief historical look at each of Lorain County's 21 townships. In 1807, the Calvin Hoadley and Herman Bronson families of Waterbury, Connecticut, began the settlement of Columbia. After a 3-month trek, the pioneers arrived in their new homeland in time to celebrate Christmas. The Bronsons, including their 7-month-old son, began that winter sheltered by their overturned bobsled wagon converted into a frontier lean-to. The mouth of the Black River also saw the beginning of its first settlement in 1807, when Azariah Beebe established a trading post for Nathan Perry. This area, which 20 years earlier had seen a short-lived Moravian mission, would gradually grow into the village of Charleston in the township called Black River. Years later, this township would be removed from county maps because of the incorporation of the city of Lorain. Charleston adopted the county's name of Lorain when the city was incorporated in 1874. The dramatic growth of the city was spurred on by the expanding fishing and shipbuilding industries. In 1894, when Tom Johnson brought his steel mill to town, Lorain's destiny to be the county's largest city was assured. In 1813, the township of Ridgeville was officially organized. 3 years earlier, members of the Beebe, Terrell, and Root families had established this new settlement they called Rootstown. The change to Ridgeville was decided upon to indicate the sand ridges that passed through the area and provided transportation routes and fertile farmland. The area around the intersection of Butternut Ridge and Roots Road, first called Briggs Corner, was by 1880 known as Fields Corners and was the site of the town's water well. With the growth of the city of North Ridgeville, the township of Ridgeville was incorporated out of existence. In 1810, Silas Wilmot, along with Asa and Ira Morgan, erected a cabin on Butternut Ridge, and the community later called Eaton Township was begun. Wilmot married Chloe Hubbard of Ashtabula, and they were given the cabin, thereby becoming the township's pioneering couple. When Ridgeville Township was organized in 1813, it included Eaton, which was at that time called Holbrook. While the area was still a part of Cuyahoga County, the township of Eaton was separated from Ridgeville. Its first officers were elected in 1823, while the township was in transition to the new Lorain County. Amherst's township's founding can be traced to one Jacob Shoup. After first settling on the Black River, he moved in 1811 to the Beaver Creek. By 1815, he had erected a grist mill and the area's first distillery. Whiskeyville, today the intersection of Routes 58 and 113, earned its nickname as a center for the production of this important pioneer commodity. As the primary community of the township developed at the Old Spring, it came to be known as Amherst Corners. By 1836, the name Amherstville was recorded in the county offices, and in 1873, the town was incorporated as North Amherst. In 1909, the U.S. Postal Service had to choose between the villages of North and South Amherst. They chose the former, which then became the official and present-day Amherst. In 1917, in the northeast corner of the county, the township of Avon became another of Lorain County's 21 townships to vanish due to city incorporation. In 1814, Wilbur Cahoon had arrived from Montgomery County, New York, to become the first to settle in what was then Troy Township of Cuyahoga County. The farming community grew around its power source, the French Creek. Development along the interurban line would incorporate the northern part of the township into the city of Avon Lake in 1911, with the remainder of the township becoming the village of Avon in 1917. It was families such as the Burrell, Day, and Roots who established themselves in the Sheffield area in 1815 and 16. The township of Sheffield would not actually be created until 1824, when the newly elected Lorain County Commissioners made the township one of the first acts of their administration. The land had been primarily in Cuyahoga County prior to the 1822 reorganization. The southwest corner of the township was in Huron County and is today the only place to find a small section still called Sheffield Township. The remainder of the area has been incorporated, like its neighbor Avon, with the north becoming Sheffield Lake and the south, the village of Sheffield. In 1816, Colonel Henry Brown of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, purchased a large tract of land known as Number 6, Range 19. Mr. Brown would later name the township after himself by simply adding Helm to his family name. Like the Old Saxon Ham, the suffix meant home. The Deacon Shepherd family were the first settlers when they arrived on July 4, 1817. The village of Brownhelm Mills, located in Benjamin Bacon's Mill Hollow, was one of 3 communities to develop. Bacon's Corners, or the center, was 3 miles east of the hollow, while just west of the hollow was Rugby, where stores, a church, a school, and the post office were located. The first settlers to the Grafton Township area were Jonathan and Grendall Rawson in 1816. 10 years later, the Rawsons were forced to build a grist mill, or forfeit their land under their original agreement with the Western Reserve Land Company. Railroads and quarries were the greatest influence on the growth of the village the locals called Rawsonville. The quarrying industry in particular was responsible for the influx of French-Canadian, Welsh, Irish, Polish, and German immigrants. In 1877, when the village was being incorporated, the name Rawsonville was dropped in favor of the railroad station name of Grafton. Originally a part of Elyria Township, Carlisle was settled in 1816 by John Bacon of Windham County, Vermont. When the new Lorain County was being organized in 1822, Carlisle Township became its own entity. LaPorte developed as the township village with Phineas Johnson as the first postmaster and hotel owner. In 1840, Anson Brayman's Carlisle Nursery became the first of its kind in Lorain County. Quarrying was another important industry of the township, as the sandstone blocks were used for city buildings as far away as Toronto. Founding father Heman Ely owned over 10,000 acres of the land that would be developed into the township of Elyria, and the city, which also bears his family name. In 1817, Artemus Beebe headed a work crew that came to establish a new village at the Y of the Black River branches. Mills were constructed and the main street cleared. Beebe's crew also erected a home for Mr. Ely at Broad and East Bridge Streets, and a home for himself across the street, which became the Beebe Tavern. Both structures avoided demolition until well into the 20th century. In 1822, Mr. Ely spearheaded the movement to create Lorain County. He donated the land for the county courthouse, thus influencing the choice of Elyria as the county seat. Mr. Ely's little village would develop into a city with a varied industrial base as well as the center of government for Lorain County. Simon Durand came to America as an interpreter for Revolutionary War hero French General Lafayette. Durand remained in the new nation and in the winter of 1817 moved from New York State to the 160 acres he had purchased south of Brownhelm. 10 years later, the population of the area was enough to support the formation of a new township. With the southern portion ceded to Brighton and the northern portion annexed from Brownhelm, the township of Henrietta was created in 1827. Although New England families represented the majority of settlers to the area in 1818, one of the pioneers was William Welling of Montgomery County, New York. History is not clear if the community was named in honor of Welling or for the famous English Duke of Wellington, hero of Europe's recent Napoleonic Wars. With the coming of the railroad, Wellington grew into an agricultural marketplace, and in fact was the nation's leader in cheese production from 1870 to 1900. The county fair, now located in Wellington, helps to continue the depiction of small-town America shown in native son Archibald Willard's famous painting, The Spirit of '76. In 1818, Joseph Sage and the family of his son-in-law, John Laborie, journeyed through a severe winter from Connecticut to their new homestead in Huntington Township. More pioneering families came to the area, and by 1822, the population was such that the Medina County Commissioners incorporated the township using the Huntington, Connecticut hometown of many of the settlers as its new name. Lumber, grain, and cheese dominated the local economy. In 1824, when Lorain County came into full operation, Huntington was transferred from Medina County. The citizens of Old Russia Township, that had been first settled in 1818, requested detachment from Black River Township in 1825. The town and college of Oberlin were founded in 1833 and would grow to dominate the area. The Oberlin concept combined a Christian community and a Christian coeducational institute. Through the influence of founders John Shippard and Philo Stewart, New York businessman Arthur Tappan, and noted evangelist Charles Finney, the college would become not only co-ed, but also multiracial and the nation's leader in the abolitionist movement. The independent spirit that created the first Russia Township was evident once again in 1992, as New Russia Township detached itself from Oberlin. In 1820, the Peter Penfield family began the permanent settlement of the area he had first selected in the fall of 1818. Penfield Township's organizational election was held in April of 1825. The first religious service was held in 1826, and the first school was in session in the summer of 1829. The township's first post office put the emphasis on post and not the office. As the Penfields lived well off the established mail route, a hollow tree near the river was used by the local residents for sending and receiving the mail. The township, with its fertile soil, grew into a part of Lorain County's rich agricultural heritage. In the fall of 1820, Abner Loveland Jr. became the first permanent settler of Brighton. Within a year, the families of Joseph Kingsbury and Abner Loveland Sr. had arrived, and the new community began to grow. With elections held in the spring of 1823, Brighton Township was being organized at the same time the area was being transferred from Medina to Lorain County. Like much of the new county, Brighton was essentially agricultural. Although Pittsfield's first settlers arrived in 1813, the area was considered too dangerous because of the British and Indian activity connected to the War of 1812. By 1820, the land was surveyed, and Milton Whitney became the owner of a large parcel. Whitney arranged for the Waite brothers of Russia Township to become the first permanent settlers in the spring of 1821. By 1831, there were enough residents to request that the county incorporate a township independent of Wellington. Pittsfield was chosen as the township's name to honor the Massachusetts hometown of many of the area's pioneers. LaGrange Township's first settler was Nathan Clark, who in the fall of 1825 established his new homestead on the east branch of the Black River. By the summer of 1826, 14 more settlers had arrived. The name LaGrange, which is French for the farm, was chosen to honor French General Lafayette, as it was also the name of his country estate. In 1827, the area was separated from Carlisle Township and reorganized with elections in April into the new township of LaGrange. By 1875, the center had grown into a village, also incorporated as LaGrange. The pioneer settler of the Camden area was Leonard Clark. Over the next 4 years, other families moved into the area, including Roswell Babcocks, who built the first frame house in 1833. Early on, the area was divided between Henrietta and Brighton townships. In 1835, the new township of Camden was created by the county commissioners, and the first elections held in April of 1836. When the first post office was established in 1835, the community was called Panelise. The name was changed to Camden, then later to North Camden. In 1852, the Lake Shore and Michigan Southern Railroad called its station Binghamton, but that was soon changed as the town adopted the name Kipton. Kipton's more important connection to the railroad was a tragic collision in 1891. The wreck was instrumental in the creation of standardized or railroad time. Rochester was the last township within the present-day boundaries of Lorain County to be settled. Stephen Babcock brought his family from Massachusetts in the spring of 1832 to settle on land he had prepared the previous year. The area grew quickly, and by 1835, the commissioners formed a new township with the first elections held in April of 1836. The township's farming and related businesses grew with the population. By 1880, close to 700 citizens lived in the area. The population shifted from Rochester Center to Rochester Station when the Big Four Railroad came through the township. The small-town boom would turn to bust when the railroad eliminated Rochester as a scheduled stop. The depot would be used as a schoolhouse, as the home of the Rochester Rod and Gun Club, and today as the home of the Rochester Historical Society.